The morning sky above Neo Sol was clear and blue when the alien ships appeared. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim was drinking his coffee in the command center when the alarms started screaming. He put down his cup and walked to the main screen. 12 massive ships hung in the sky like dark clouds. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Sir, we're getting a transmission," said Lieutenant Sumin Park, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "It's coming from the largest ship." Hyunwoo nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The screen flickered and showed a creature that made several officers step back. It looked like living crystal, tall and sharp, with blue light glowing inside its body. When it spoke, its voice was cold like winter wind. "I am High Regent Vextai of the Galactic Council. I speak for the 12 most powerful civilizations in this galaxy. You will listen." Dr. So Young Park moved closer to Hyunwoo. She had studied alien life for 20 years, but seeing one talk was different from reading about them. Commander Jin Ho Lee stood on the other side, his hand resting on his weapon. "We have watched your species for some time," Vexatai continued. "You are young and weak. You fight among yourselves over small things. You destroy your own planet. You are not ready to join the galaxy as equals." The crystal alien paused. The light inside its body grew brighter. "But you have something we need. Your species breeds quickly. You adapt to different worlds. You will make good workers for our empire." Hyunwoo felt his jaw tighten. Around him, the command center grew quiet. Everyone was listening. "Here are our demands," Vextai said. "You will give us 60% of your population. These humans will work on our worlds, building what we need. You will destroy all weapons more advanced than simple guns. You will accept our laws and our rule. In return, we will let the rest of your species live." The alien leaned forward. Its crystal face had no expression, but somehow it looked threatening. "You have 30 of your days to agree. If you refuse, we will destroy your world and take your people anyway. This offer is more kindness than we have shown others." The transmission ended. The command center stayed quiet for a long moment. 60%, whispered Dr. Park. "That's over 4 billion people. And they want us to destroy our defenses," added Commander Lee. "They want us helpless." Hyunwoo looked at the alien ships still hanging in the sky. He thought about his daughter, who was starting university next month. He thought about all the children playing in parks across Earth. He thought about every human who had ever dreamed of reaching the stars. "Send a reply," he said. "Sir?" Lieutenant Park looked confused. "Send a reply. All frequencies. Make sure they hear us clearly." The young officer's fingers moved across her controls. "Ready, sir." Hyunwoo stepped forward. He looked directly into the camera that would carry his words to the alien ships. "High Regent Vextai. I am Admiral Hyunwoo Kim of the United Earth Defense Coalition. I speak for all of humanity." He paused, thinking of the right words. "We reject your demands, all of them. We will not give you our people. We will not destroy our weapons. We will not bow to your empire." Dr. Park looked worried. Commander Lee smiled grimly. Around the command center, officers stood straighter. "You say you have conquered 17 civilizations. You say they all surrendered quickly. But you have never faced humans before." Hyunwoo's voice grew stronger. "We don't surrender. When someone tries to make us slaves, we fight. When someone threatens our families, we fight harder. When someone tells us we're not good enough, we prove them wrong." He stepped closer to the camera. "You want a war? You'll get one. But don't Expect us to be like the others. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've learned from every battle, every defeat, every victory. We know how to survive when everything seems hopeless. The Admiral paused again. When he spoke next, his voice was calm but deadly serious. You have 30 days to leave our solar system. After that, any alien ship we find here will be destroyed. This is your only warning. Lieutenant Park cut the transmission. The command center erupted in voices. Some officers looked excited. Others looked terrified. Dr. Park grabbed Hyun-woo's arm. Admiral, they have 12 ships. Each one is bigger than our largest space station. How can we fight them? Hyun-woo looked at her, then at Commander Lee, then at all the faces around him. These people had families, too. They had hopes and dreams, just like everyone else on Earth. So young. How long have you studied alien biology? 20 years, sir. In all your research, did you ever find a species that fought like humans do? She thought for a moment. No, sir. Most intelligent species avoid conflict. They prefer cooperation or submission to fighting. Jin-ho, Hyun-woo turned to the commander. How many wars has humanity fought? Thousands, sir. Maybe tens of thousands. And did we ever fight fair? Commander Lee grinned. Never, sir. We always used every advantage we could find. Hyun-woo nodded. Then we have 30 days to show these aliens something they've never seen before. We're going to show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. Outside, the alien ships waited in the sky like patient hunters. But inside the command center, something had changed. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now. Determination, anger, the kind of stubborn human refusal to give up that had carried their species through ice ages and wars and disasters. Dr. Park looked at the ships on the screen. What do we do first? We call everyone, Hyun-woo said. Every nation, every colony, every human settlement in the solar system. We tell them what's happening, and then we start preparing for the hardest fight in human history. The 30-day countdown had begun. General Taemin Choi had fought in 3 wars before the aliens came. He had seen cities burn and good soldiers die. But he had never seen anything like what happened in the first week after Admiral Kim's message went out to every human settlement in the solar system. The old man stood in the main hall of the Global Defense Command Center, watching screens that showed the entire human response. Every nation on Earth was working together for the first time in history. The Mars colonies were sending their best engineers. Even the miners in the asteroid belt were offering their ships and equipment. Sir, called Major Hae Jin-yoon from across the room, the Japanese are offering their entire robot manufacturing system. The Americans want to share their space fighter designs. The Russians are giving us access to their nuclear stockpile. Taemin nodded. In his 60 years of life, he had never seen humans unite like this. Fear had a way of making enemies into friends very quickly. What about the civilian ships? He asked. Chief Engineer Min-soo Kang has the numbers, sir. Kang looked up from his tablet. He was a small man with thick glasses, but his mind was one of the sharpest in the solar system. We have 40,000 ships of all sizes, cargo haulers, passenger liners, research vessels, mining platforms. Most aren't designed for fighting, but we can change that. How long? Give me 3 weeks and I'll give you the biggest fleet humanity has ever seen. Across the room, Dr. Yoon Ji-yoon was studying pieces of the alien probe that still watched. Earth from orbit. The young physicist had been working for 18 hours straight, trying to understand how alien technology worked. The energy patterns are fascinating, she muttered to herself. They use quantum tunneling for power distribution, but their systems are designed for efficiency. not adaptation. Captain Seung-hwan Ro appeared beside her. The Special Forces officer had been leading secret missions against the alien probe, trying to learn its weaknesses. What does that mean for us? It means their technology is very advanced, but it's also very specialized, like a perfect machine that only works one way. Yoonji rubbed her tired eyes. Human technology is messier, but it's more flexible. We can change it, modify it, make it do things it wasn't designed for. Can we use that? I think so. Give me a few more days. In the shipyards orbiting Earth, thousands of workers were performing miracles. Ships that had carried cargo between planets were being fitted with weapons. Research vessels were becoming scouts. Even tourist ships were being turned into fighters. Min-Soo Kang stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station 7, watching as a massive passenger liner was being converted into a weapons platform. Welding sparks lit up the darkness like stars. "This is insane," said Engineer Bo Young-nam, joining him at the window. "We're turning cruise ships into warships. The aliens are going to laugh at us." "Maybe," Min-Soo replied, "but they're also going to underestimate us. Look at that liner. It was designed to carry 5,000 passengers in comfort. Now it can carry 5,000 fighters and launch them at the enemy. They won't expect that." "What about weapons? Our ships weren't designed for space combat." Min-Soo smiled. "We're humans. We've been putting weapons on things that weren't designed for weapons since we invented the sharp stick. Come on, let me show you something." He led her to a different observation deck. Below them, teams were working on a new type of spacecraft. It looked like no ship ever built. Long and thin like a needle, with engines that glowed blue. "What is it?" "We call it a missile ship. It's basically a very fast, very maneuverable bomb. One pilot, one target. The pilot gets close enough to penetrate their shields, then—" Min-Soo made an explosion gesture with his hands. Bo Young looked horrified. "That's a suicide mission." "Maybe. Or maybe our pilots are good enough to get out after they deliver their payload. We've already got 10,000 volunteers." Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, Captain Ro was leading a different kind of preparation. His teams were studying every piece of information they had about the alien ships, looking for weaknesses. "Their ships are huge," reported Lieutenant Dae-Yoon Lee, pointing to images on the screen. "But big doesn't always mean strong. Look at these connection points between sections. If we could hit them with enough force—" "The ships might break apart," finished Sergeant Woo-Jin Park. "But how do we get close enough? Their weapons will destroy our fighters before we reach them." Captain Ro studied the images. He had spent his career finding ways to attack targets that seemed impossible to reach. "We don't attack them where they expect. We attack from directions they don't think about." "Sir, think about it. These aliens have conquered 17 civilizations. Every enemy they've faced probably attacked them the same way. Ship against ship, weapon against weapon. But humans don't fight fair." He pointed to the space between the alien ships. "What if we don't attack their ships at all? What if we attack the space around them?" Dr. Yoon had been listening from across the room. "You mean use the environment as a weapon?" "Exactly. We have asteroids, space debris, even our own destroyed ships. We turn everything into a weapon." As the days passed, the alien probe sent regular reports back to the Council fleet. The messages were always the same. Humans were building primitive weapons and simple defenses. The probe's sensors were advanced, but they were designed to detect alien technology. Human innovations looked like crude metal to them. Admiral Kim stood in his command center, reading the intercepted alien communications. The enemy still thought humanity would surrender when their main fleet arrived. "They're bringing 800 ships," reported intelligence officer Jae-hoon Cha. "The biggest fleet they've ever assembled." "Good," Kim replied. "The bigger they are, the harder they fall." Dr. Park joined them. "Admiral, we've been analyzing their probe's behavior. It's been watching our major cities and military bases, but it's ignoring our civilian infrastructure." "What do you mean?" "It's not watching our schools, our hospitals, our farms. It doesn't understand that in human society everyone contributes to defense. They think only soldiers fight wars." Kim smiled grimly. "Then they're in for a surprise. How many people have volunteered for combat training?" 2 billion so far, including teachers, doctors, farmers, students. Even children are learning to operate communication equipment and spotting systems. Engineer Kang approached with a tablet full of numbers. "Admiral, we're ahead of schedule. In 1 week, we'll have 15,000 armed ships, 300 defense platforms, and 50,000 fighter craft, not counting the surprise weapons." Surprise weapons? Dr. Yoon had some interesting ideas about quantum mechanics and space-time manipulation. "We've built a few prototypes. They're unique. On the surface of Mars, colonist families were loading their children onto evacuation ships while the adults stayed to fight. In the asteroid belt, miners were filling cargo containers with explosive rocks and programming them to crash into enemy ships. On the moon, engineers were building the largest railgun ever constructed. But the most important preparation was happening in the hearts and minds of every human in the solar system. For the first time in their species' history, humanity was united behind a single goal: survival. General Choi received reports from every human settlement. The news was the same everywhere. People were scared, but they were not giving up. Families were saying goodbye, knowing they might never see each other again. But no one was talking about surrender. "Sir," called Major Yoon, "we're getting a transmission from the alien probe." "Put it on screen." The crystal face of High Regent Vextai appeared again. "Humans of Earth, you have 20 days remaining. Our main fleet is approaching your system. Surrender now, and we will honor our original offer. Continue to resist, and we will show no mercy." The transmission ended. The command center was quiet for a moment. "Send a reply," General Choi said. "What should we tell them, sir?" The old general thought about all the reports he had received. Millions of humans working day and night to prepare for war. Families separated but determined. An entire species ready to fight for their freedom. Tell them we'll be ready. Admiral Kyung-soo Nam stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching 847 alien warships drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Each enemy vessel was massive, bigger than Earth's largest cities. Their dark hulls gleamed with unknown metals, and strange lights pulsed along their sides. "My God," whispered Navigator Soo-Jin Hong. "How are we supposed to fight that?" "One ship at a time," Nam replied calmly. "Communications, send the signal to all units. Operation Defiant Stand begins now. Across the solar system, 15,000 human ships received the message. They didn't look like much compared to the alien fleet. Most were converted civilian vessels. Cargo haulers with welded-on armor, passenger liners loaded with fighters, mining ships carrying explosive payloads. But each one carried humans who refused to surrender. "Enemy fleet is moving toward Earth," reported Tactical Officer Min-ho Kwak. "They're maintaining tight formation. Speed is—" "Admiral, They're moving very slowly. How slowly? Like they're not worried about being attacked. Like they think we'll just sit here and wait for them. Nam smiled grimly. Then they don't know humans very well. Send word to Lieutenant Colonel Jang. Begin Phase 1. On Earth's surface, Lieutenant Colonel Hei-Wan Jang sat in the underground command center that controlled 300 orbital defense platforms. Each platform was disguised to look like space debris or broken satellites. The aliens had seen them but dismissed them as harmless junk. "Platform commanders report ready," said Major Sung-Woo Kim. "All weapons charged and targeted." "Wait for them to get closer," Jang ordered. "Let them think they're safe." The alien fleet continued its slow advance. Their formation was perfect. A textbook approach designed to overwhelm any enemy through sheer firepower. It had worked on 17 different civilizations. High Regent Vextai stood in his command ship, watching the primitive human vessels scatter before his fleet. Some were fleeing toward the outer planets. Others seemed to be hiding behind asteroids. A few were actually approaching his fleet, probably to surrender. "Pitiful," he said to his tactical officer. "Open fire on the largest human ships. Destroy them quickly so the others understand their situation." The alien dreadnoughts fired their main weapons. Beams of pure energy lanced out toward the human fleet. Several ships exploded instantly, their hulls no match for advanced alien weapons. But something strange happened. Instead of running away, the human ships moved closer. They scattered into smaller groups, using the wreckage of their destroyed vessels as cover, and they started firing back. "Sir," reported the alien tactical officer, "the humans are using unusual tactics. They're not fighting in formation. Each ship is acting independently." "Impossible. No species fights without coordination. They'll destroy themselves." But they didn't. The human ships moved like a swarm of angry insects, darting between the massive alien vessels, firing at close range, then disappearing behind debris or asteroids before the aliens could respond. Colonel Yu Jin commanded a converted cargo ship called Never Surrender. Her crew of 25 had been factory workers a month ago. Now they were flying straight at an alien dreadnought that was 50 times their size. "All right, people," she called over the intercom. "Remember what we practiced? Get in close, hit them hard, get out fast. And if we don't make it out, well, we make sure they remember us." The Never Surrender slipped past the alien ship's main weapons, too small and fast to target easily. O's crew fired everything they had at the connection point between two sections of the enemy vessel, just like Captain Rowe had suggested. The improvised weapons weren't powerful enough to penetrate the alien hull, but they didn't need to be. The explosion sent vibrations through the enemy ship's structure. After the 15th hit, something cracked. "Colonel!" shouted Gunner Jae-Sung Lim. "Look at that!" A section of the alien ship was separating from the main hull. Atmosphere vented into space as the dreadnought broke apart. "It worked!" Oh laughed. "It actually worked! All ships, target the connection points. Hit them where they're joined together." Across the battle zone, human ships began using the same tactic. The alien vessels were incredibly strong, but they were also incredibly large. The bigger something was, the more stress points it had. Admiral Nam watched from the Indomitable as the first alien dreadnought broke into pieces. "That's one down. 846 to go." "Sir," called Communications Officer Da Young Cho, "we're getting reports from the outer system. The mining ships are beginning their attack run." In the asteroid belt, Captain Bong-Soo Yi commanded a fleet of automated cargo containers filled with rocks and explosives. The containers looked like normal space debris, but each one was guided by a simple computer and aimed at the alien fleet. "Release all pods," Yi ordered. "Let's see how they handle a few thousand guided asteroids." The alien sensors detected the approaching objects, but they looked like natural space debris, the kind of thing that happened near asteroid belts. By the time the Council realized the rocks were guided weapons, it was too late. Hundreds of asteroids slammed into the alien formation. The smaller ships were destroyed instantly. The larger ones survived but were damaged and thrown out of position. "Sir," called the alien tactical officer to High Regent Vextai, "we're under attack from multiple directions. The humans are they're using everything as weapons." "Impossible. You don't fight wars with rocks and scrap metal." "Tell that to the humans, sir." But the biggest surprise was still coming. Dr. Yoonji Yoon had spent 3 weeks studying alien technology and quantum mechanics. Her research had led to some very unusual weapons. "Admiral Nam," she called from the science station. "We're ready to test the quantum disruptors. Will they work? I have no idea. But if they do, they should make the alien ships very unhappy. Do it." Around Earth, hidden platforms activated devices that looked like simple radio antennas. But these antennas didn't broadcast radio waves. They broadcast quantum interference patterns that Yoon had designed to disrupt alien power systems. The effect was immediate. Across the alien fleet, ships began losing power. Their shields flickered and failed. Their weapons stopped firing. Their engines shut down. "What's happening?" Vextai demanded. "Unknown, sir. All our systems are failing. It's like something is interfering with our quantum cores." "That's impossible. No primitive species understands quantum mechanics well enough to—" His words were cut off as another group of human ships attacked. These were the missile ships that Engineer Kang had designed, fast, maneuverable, and carrying very large explosives. Pilot Hyojin Park flew her needle-shaped ship straight at the alien command vessel. Behind her, 1,000 other missile ships followed. The aliens tried to shoot them down, but the ships were too small and too fast. "This is for Earth," Park shouted as she guided her ship into the alien hull. The explosion was enormous, all across. The battle zone. Human ships were ramming into disabled alien vessels. It wasn't pretty and it wasn't elegant, but it was working. "Sir," reported Tactical Officer Kwok, "we've destroyed or disabled over 200 enemy ships, but we've lost about half our fleet." Admiral Nam nodded grimly. "Every human ship that died took trained crews with it, people who had families and dreams and futures. But they were fighting for something more important than their individual lives. Send a message to all human ships," he ordered. Tell them they're making their species proud." The battle continued to rage. The aliens had superior technology and more powerful weapons. But the humans had something the Council had never faced before: the willingness to use absolutely anything as a weapon, and the stubbornness to keep fighting even when victory seemed impossible. High Regent Vextai looked at the tactical display showing his fleet in chaos. Ships were breaking apart, systems were failing, and swarms of tiny human vessels were attacking from every direction. "Sir," called his communications officer, "the Council is demanding an explanation. They want to know why we haven't destroyed the humans yet." Vextai stared at the screen. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. The humans fought like they were insane. They used cargo ships as weapons, rocks as missiles, and seemed to have no fear of death. "Tell the Council," he said slowly, "that we may have underestimated these creatures." Director Jae-hoon Cha sat in the intelligence bunker beneath Neo's soul, listening to intercepted alien communications. What he heard made him smile for the first time in weeks. "They're panicking," he told Admiral Kim over the secure channel. We're intercepting messages from 12 different Council worlds. 3 of them are reporting rebellions. 2 more have lost contact with their colonial fleets. Rebellions? The species they conquered are fighting back. Apparently, word is spreading that humans refuse to surrender and are actually winning. It's giving others hope. Kim looked at the tactical display showing the battle in space. After 72 hours of continuous fighting, the human fleet had been reduced to about 6,000 ships. But the alien fleet had lost over 400 vessels and was in complete disarray. How are our people holding up? Tired but determined. Chief Engineer Kang reports that civilian volunteers are working around the clock to repair damaged ships and build new weapons. Dr. Yoon says she has some new surprises ready. What kind of surprises? The kind that might end this war, sir. In the outer system, Captain Sung-Woo Ro was leading a special mission that no one had thought possible. A week ago, his team had captured an intact alien scout ship and was preparing to board it. Remember, he told his assault team, these crystal beings shatter when hit with kinetic weapons. The gas creatures dissipate if you use electromagnetic grenades. The machine ones crash if Specialist Dong Hyun can get to their central processors. Specialist SEO nodded, his hacking equipment ready. I've studied their computer systems from the wreckage. Their security is very advanced but very rigid. Once I'm in, I should be able to take control. Good. Let's show them what happens when humans get inside their ships. The boarding action was swift and brutal. The aliens had never faced an enemy willing to fight inside their own vessels. Their weapons and tactics were designed for ship-to-ship combat, not close-quarters fighting in narrow corridors. Within an hour, Ro's team had control of the alien scout ship and access to its communication systems. Director Cha, Ro called, on his radio. We're in. Downloading their communications network now. Excellent work, Captain. What are you finding? The Council is in chaos. They're pulling fleets from 6 different sectors to come here. But more importantly, they're admitting they've never faced anything like human tactics. They don't know how to fight us. Back on Earth, Dr. Mi-young Bae was putting the finishing touches on humanity's most desperate weapon. The young physicist had been working with quantum temporal mechanics, trying to find a way to defend against the Council's ultimate weapon. It's ready, she told Dr. Yoon over the laboratory intercom. But I have to warn you, we're dealing with forces we don't fully understand. If this backfires, it could tear a hole in space-time. What are the alternatives? We let them use the entropy cascade to age our planet to dust in about 15 minutes. Then we take the risk. How does it work? We create a localized temporal field around Earth. When they fire their weapon, instead of aging us forward in time, we reverse the effect and send it back at them. Dr. Yoon looked at the equations covering every screen in the laboratory. You're talking about turning time itself into a weapon. Humans have been turning everything else into weapons. Why not time? The test came sooner than expected. High Regent Vex Tai had grown desperate watching his fleet slowly destroyed by human ingenuity. He activated the Council's most feared weapon, a device that could accelerate time around entire planets, turning worlds to dust in minutes. Fire the entropy cascade, he ordered. End this madness. The weapon fired. A wave of temporal energy raced toward Earth, designed to age everything it touched by millions of years in seconds. Now, shouted Dr. Bae. The temporal field generators around Earth activated. Instead of a shield, they created a mirror. The aging effect hit the field and bounced back, racing toward the alien fleet at the speed of light. Sir! Screamed the alien tactical officer. The weapon is reflecting. It's coming back at us. Vextai watched in horror as his own ultimate weapon struck his fleet. Dozens of ships aged millions of years in seconds, crumbling to dust in the vacuum of space. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species has ever mastered temporal mechanics to this degree." "Sir," called his communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." On the screen appeared Admiral Kyung-Soo Nam, his uniform torn and his face dirty from battle, but his eyes blazing with determination. "High Regent Vextai," Nam said calmly, "you tried to turn time into a weapon against us, but humans have been fighting time our entire existence. We've learned to use every second, every moment, every heartbeat as a tool for survival." Nam paused, looking directly at the alien commander. "Your council conquered 17 civilizations because they gave up when faced with superior force, but you made a mistake. You threatened our children, our families, our future. And humans will use anything, matter, energy, time itself, to protect what we love." The transmission switched to show Captain Soo-Jin Kim broadcasting from inside the captured alien command ship. "My name is Captain Kim of the Earth Defense Force," she said. "I'm broadcasting this message to every world in Council space. The Council told you that resistance was impossible. They told you that their power could not be challenged. Look around you. Their ships are burning. Their ultimate weapon has failed. Their empire is crumbling." Kim's voice grew stronger. "You are not alone. You do not have to accept slavery. Fight back. Rise up. The humans are proof that the Council can be defeated." The message went out on every communication frequency the aliens used. It reached hundreds of worlds, billions of oppressed beings who had never imagined freedom was possible. The effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, rebellions erupted. Species that had been slaves for centuries suddenly remembered what it meant to be free. They used the confusion in the Council fleet to attack their oppressors. "Sir," reported Director Cha, "we're intercepting communications from 47 different worlds. They're all in open rebellion. The Council's empire is collapsing." "Admiral," Kim nodded. "What about our situation here?" "The alien fleet is in full retreat. They're trying to reach the edge of the system, but our ships are harassing them every step of the way. We estimate they'll lose another 100 ships before they can escape." "Let them go," Kim said. "They're not our problem anymore. Our problem is helping all those species who are fighting for their freedom." In space, the surviving human ships watched as the once mighty Council fleet limped away. The aliens who had expected easy conquest were fleeing with less than half their original force. But the real victory wasn't in space. It was in the messages flooding in from across the galaxy. Species after species was declaring independence. The Council's network of control was breaking apart like ice in spring. Engineer Min-Soo Kang stood in his workshop, looking at the damaged ships returning from battle. Many would never fly again. Too many good people had died defending their world. "Was it worth it?" asked Engineer Nam, joining him at the window. Kang pointed to a communication screen showing reports from the liberated worlds. "Ask them," he said. "Ask the children on those worlds who will grow up free instead of as slaves." Colonel Eugene O brought her battered ship Never Surrender into dock. Half her crew was injured, and her ship was held together mostly by hope and welding wire. But they were alive, and Earth was free. "Colonel," called one of her crew members, "we're getting a message from the Centauri colonies. They want to join the rebellion. They're asking for our help." O smiled tiredly. "Then I guess our work isn't finished? Patch me through to Admiral Kim. Let's see about helping our new friends." Across the galaxy, the Council's empire was dissolving. Species that had been conquered decades ago were remembering how to fight. And at the center of it all was a small blue planet whose people had done something no one thought possible. They had said no to an empire and made it stick. The war wasn't over. The Council still had fleets and worlds and weapons. But something had changed in the galaxy. Hope had returned. And hope, as humans knew better than anyone, was the most powerful weapon of all. President Da-Hai Lim stood in the great hall of the newly built Unity Station, watching as the last remnants of the Galactic Council approached under a flag of surrender. 6 months had passed since their first ultimatum to Earth. Now the tables had turned completely. Fleet Admiral Sang-Ho Park stood beside her, his uniform bearing medals from the war that had changed everything. Chief Diplomat Yeon-Woo Jung held the formal documents that would end the Council's reign of terror forever. "I never thought I'd live to see this day," Jung whispered as the alien delegation entered the hall. The Council's representatives looked nothing like the proud conquerors who had demanded humanity's surrender. High Regent Vextai's crystal body was cracked and dim. The other aliens with him moved like broken beings, their empires in ruins behind them. "President Lim," Vextai said through his translator, his voice barely a whisper. "We come to formally surrender to the Free Worlds Alliance." Lim nodded gravely. The Free Worlds Alliance had grown from 3 species to over 200 in just 4 months. Every world that had thrown off Council rule had asked to join the humans in their new organization. "The terms are simple," she said. "Complete withdrawal from all contested systems, reparations to every species harmed by Council expansion, and a formal guarantee that you will never again attempt to conquer or enslave any sentient beings." We accept," Vextai replied. "We have no choice. Our fleets are destroyed. Our worlds are in rebellion. We are—" He paused, searching for words. "We are no longer the power we once were." Admiral Park stepped forward. "There's one more thing. We want access to your historical records. We need to know about every species you conquered, every world you destroyed, so we can try to help any survivors." The alien leader nodded slowly. "You will have everything. Our databases, our star charts, our entire history of expansion. Perhaps some good can come from our crimes." After the ceremony, President Lim walked to the observation deck of Unity Station. Through the massive windows, she could see ships from dozens of different species. The galaxy looked different now. Not because the stars had changed, but because the meaning of those stars had changed. Ambassador Hyojin Lee joined her at the window. Lee had spent the last months traveling to newly liberated worlds, helping them establish their own governments and join the growing alliance. "How many species have we made contact with now?" Lim asked. "Over 300, Lee replied. "Some have been free for generations and are eager to trade and share knowledge. Others were enslaved so long they barely remember how to govern themselves. But they're all learning." "And the former council members?" "Most have retreated to their home systems. The ethereals like Vextai are trying to rebuild their civilization without conquest. The Nephilim have returned to their gas giant worlds. The Calculons have shut down most of their networks and are... well, we're not sure what they're doing." Lim nodded. The Alliance had made a difficult decision early on. They would not seek revenge against their former oppressors. Instead, they would focus on building something better. "Any word from the exploration fleets?" Commander Bo Ram Choi just sent a report from the Outer Rim. They've made contact with 17 new species, all peaceful. Apparently, the Council never reached that far because they thought there was nothing worth conquering out there. Lim smiled. They were wrong about a lot of things. In the engineering sections of Unity Station, the brightest minds from hundreds of worlds were working together on projects that would have been impossible just months before. Human ingenuity combined with alien knowledge was producing remarkable results. Dr. Yoon-ji Yoon stood in a laboratory surrounded by beings she couldn't have imagined a year ago. Her team included a crystalline mathematician from Xerion Prime, a gaseous physicist from the Nebula worlds, and a machine intelligence that had been freed from Council control. "The quantum tunneling equations are beautiful," said the crystalline being, whose name translated roughly to Song of Light. "Combined with human adaptive engineering, we should be able to build faster-than-light communication networks across the entire galaxy. Instant communication between all Alliance worlds," added the machine intelligence called Binary. "No more delays in coordinating defense or sharing knowledge." Dr. Yoon looked at the calculations covering the laboratory walls. "How long to build the first prototype?" "With human manufacturing techniques and our combined knowledge?" 6 months, replied Song of Light. "The Council took centuries to build their communication network. We can do it better in half a year." In another part of the station, Captain Sung-woo Ro was training the first mixed-species military units in Alliance history. The sight of humans working alongside former enemies was still strange, but it was becoming more common every day. "Remember," he told a group of trainees that included former Council soldiers, "we're not building an army of conquest. We're building a defense force to protect freedom." A young alien who had once served in the Council fleet raised what might have been a hand. "Captain, what if some of the Council remnants try to restart their empire?" "Then we stop them," Ro replied simply. "But our real job is to make sure no one ever feels the need to build an empire in the first place. That means helping worlds develop their own defenses, their own economies, their own governments." Meanwhile, in the civilian sectors of Unity Station, former enemies were learning to become neighbors. Markets sold goods from hundreds of worlds. Restaurants served food that humans had never imagined. Schools taught children from dozens of species side by side. Engineer Min-soo Kang walked through the commercial district with his granddaughter, In Young. The 8-year-old girl was chattering excitedly about her new friends at school. "Grandpa, did you know that Zephyrians can see 17 different colors we can't see? And the rock people from Granite 7 can live for thousands of years?" "Is that so?" Kang smiled, watching his granddaughter's eyes light up with wonder. This was what they had fought for. A future where human children could grow up in a galaxy, full of friends instead of enemies. "Are you really one of the heroes who saved Earth?" In Young asked. Kang thought about the question. He had helped build the ships that fought the Council. He had worked day and night to give humanity the tools they needed to survive. But was he a hero? "We all were heroes," he said finally. "Every person who refused to give up. Every person who chose to fight instead of surrender. Every person who believed we could build something better." In the governmental sections of Unity Station, the real work of building a new galaxy was happening. Representatives from hundreds of worlds were writing the Charter for the Free Worlds, Alliance, a document that would guide their civilization for generations to come. "The right of every sentient being to determine their own destiny," read Diplomat Jung from the draft charter. the right to trade freely with other worlds, the right to defend themselves from aggression, the right to join or leave the alliance as they choose. "What about worlds that choose isolation?" asked a representative from the Quiet Ones, a species that had hidden from the Council for centuries. "Then they isolate," Jung replied. "The alliance isn't another empire. We're not going to force anyone to join us or follow our rules. We're just here if they want our help." The charter was signed by representatives of 347 worlds. It wasn't perfect, no document ever was, but it was a start. Commander Bo-Ram Choi stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizons, looking at a star chart that showed the known galaxy. Red markers showed former Council worlds. Blue markers showed Alliance members. Green markers showed newly contacted species. "Captain," called Navigator Ji-Hoon Park, "we're approaching the Forgotten Sector. Long-range sensors are detecting artificial structures." "Another lost civilization?" "Maybe, or maybe survivors of one the Council destroyed." Choi nodded. This was the real work now. Not just exploring space, but healing the wounds left by centuries of conquest. Every mission brought new discoveries, new friends, new opportunities to make things right. "Take us in, Navigator. Let's see who's out." There. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim stood in his old command center, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. The war was over, but the work of peace was just beginning. "Admiral," called his aide, "we're getting a request from the Liberated Worlds Council. They want human advisors to help establish their defense forces." "Send whoever volunteers," Kim replied. "But remind them, we're not there to command. We're there to teach and then step back." "Yes, sir." "Oh, and Admiral, there's a message from your daughter. She's graduating from the Interspecies Academy next week. She wanted to know if you could attend." Kim smiled. His daughter was studying xenobiology at the new academy on Unity Station, learning to understand and heal the many species of the galaxy. It was the future he had fought for, a future where human children could reach for the stars not as conquerors, but as friends. The galaxy was still a vast and dangerous place. There were still mysteries to solve, conflicts to resolve, and challenges to face. But something fundamental had changed. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy was truly free. No empire controlled the space lanes, no council decided the fate of entire species. The future belonged to everyone. High Regent Vextai sat in his small apartment.